Good morning and welcome to FGI's webinar on effective catalogue, service catalogue, myth or reality. Today we're going to discuss the catalogue and how you can benefit from an effective catalogue within your organisation. My name is Julian Brunger and I'll be taking you through the session today. Before we start, I'd just like to take you through a few interactive options you can use throughout the presentation. First of all, I'll be presenting you with some polls as we go through. A few little topics as we discuss I'd like your sort of feedback on, if you wouldn't mind selecting the most appropriate answer. If you have any questions as we go through the session, you can use the options available on your screen. First of all, the question option, where you can type in a question. I will endeavour to answer the questions as we go through the seminar, but if not appropriate at the time or may take a little bit longer to answer, I may leave those to the end or even take those offline and get back to you at a later time. There's also a chat function. Should you wish to communicate directly with me, then click on the chat function. It will raise a little hand signal for me and I'll be able to unmute your speaker or your microphone and we'll be able to speak directly with each other. So please use these facilities as we go through the session this morning. So, just like to take you through a few little introductions as we go through. My name, as we know, is Julian Brunger, and I've had 25+ years experience within IT. I've stated there, I'm an expert within the ITIL arena, and have worked in most sectors, I would say, over the years. I've implemented catalogue management as most of the other processes over the years, and this morning I'd like to discuss those further with you. FGI itself, well, learning consultancy. Any requirements when it comes to service management or project management, please discuss those requirements further with us. We aim to give you that exceptional experience, a customized solution. So any requirements, please contact either myself or one of my colleagues in the future. Today, the purpose, what are we looking at? Well, the catalogue itself, how will this add value to your organization? We'll also look at creating the catalogue. How do we go about this creation? Some of the pitfalls you may suffer from on the way, how to overcome some of these. And how will this support other processes, and thus how can you use this catalogue to actually improve your overall service to your organization. So these are the topics I would like to discuss with you. First of all, I'd like to bring up the question of what is a service. So we'll discuss that to start with. I will then like to go on and actually look at the ITIL definition, the objective, the scope and the purpose of the catalogue. Then we'll actually discuss the catalogue itself. What is it made of? Where does it fit, again, within the ITIL disciplines? And the types of catalogue available to you. We'll look at how can we use this catalogue. So some of the benefits of it for your organization. Where will it integrate with your existing processes? How can this support those processes and thus support an ongoing effective service? One of the key things, can we measure this? If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So we'll look at some of the measurements you may put in to identify how well our catalogue is operating with our environment. Now, it's never easy. Like all processes, we are going to face a few challenges en route. How can we overcome these challenges as we go? How do we actually make this work in our particular organization? I will summarize, and if there's any further questions at the end, please ask them. But if you've got any questions as we go through, use the question or the chat option as we go. So, first question. What is a service? Now, until we've actually defined what a service is, how can we actually create a catalogue of those services? Now, there's an ITIL definition. Service is a means of delivering value to customers by facilitating outcomes that the customer wants to achieve without the ownership of specific cost and risk. So basically what this is suggesting is that our services that we provide are there to add value to the business. First thing we need to do is identify what these services are and how they add value to our organization. I would like to first pose a poll, if I may, relating to the catalogue. If I can just bring up the first question, which is going to be, do you have a definition of a service? So do you, in your organisation, actually define what a service is? And I've placed that poll on your screen, so I've given you sort of three choices there. Yes, you've defined it. No, you haven't, or actually you're not sure. So a few of these polls are coming in now. And it's looking approximately 60-40, sort of evening out a bit now. It's about 50-50 on whether or not you do actually define services. Now, I'll just bring that off now. You should see things back as they were. So we've got about 46 don't, 38% say yes they do, and 50% aren't actually sure. Now it is very important that we actually define services, because this is really the sort of the interface between IT and the business. So an ideal opportunity here to sit down with the business, discuss in their terms what they believe services are. Let's get a common viewpoint between IT and the business to decide exactly what we're actually going to be delivering the business. You know, we've been delivering IT services for years. We've always been very good at that, but we tend to talk about them in very technical terms. Does the business actually understand that? Probably not. So let's start to actually define exactly what we are providing the business. This way, we can demonstrate to them that the services we're providing are of a business benefit, are designed to support the business. So let's look at some of the ITIL definitions when it comes to the service catalogue. So first of all, the purpose of it, well, it's to provide a single source of consistent information on all agreed services, ensure they are widely available to those who approve to access it. So this is suggesting we have a single process or a single approach to identifying all our services. We have a location, a method of storing information relating to all the services that we agree to provide the business. A key word there, agree. So we need to, again, sit down with the business, understand exactly what we are providing. Making this catalogue available to who needs it, to who should have access to it. Now this catalogue may be in different formats depending on your audience. You've got the user audience, got a requirement of maybe requesting some of the services. You've got management requirements. They may have a more detailed requirement regarding reporting of the service, to provide them a view in which they gather the information they need. You can use this catalogue for IT as well, so make sure IT can access it and there is elements that they can understand and recognize. The objective, ensure that the service catalogue is produced, maintained, containing accurate information on all operational services and those being prepared to run operations. So this is saying that the catalogue itself doesn't just contain what we're delivering now at this moment in time, but it also covers what we are going to be delivered in the future. So if we have an accurate catalogue, then we can see exactly what we are providing at this moment in time, and we'll see what services are coming up. One of the questions is going to be, when do you actually present this information to the catalogue? At what point does a service become a live service that you wish to promote to the business? So you need to decide whether or not that is during the chartered phase, so when the business has actually agreed on the service and are prepared to fund that service, or do you wait a little bit later, once the service is in test phase, before you make it available, or start to show that service? It's important that that service is demonstrated to the business as soon as possible, get their buy-in, make sure that they can see that service as early as possible to allow them to place an order. So the catalogue will allow your users and customers to place orders on that service, thus understanding the importance or the requirement of that, when that is required. The scope, well, making sure we have this accurate catalogue that aligns with our portfolio. Our portfolio we'll look at in a moment, but it's covering the pipeline and retired service as well. So where does our catalogue fit within that? It is a case of linking this catalogue into our CMS as well, our configuration management system, having that ability to dynamically understand what IT elements make this particular service operate. What does it consist of? What are those components that make it up? And all those dependencies of other services. Use your CMS to actually provide you with that level of information. So, what is a service catalogue? As it says there, it's a link between the business services and all the IT services that you're currently providing. And as I said before, we're very good at providing IT services. We've had IT catalogues for a very long time. But do we present these in a format the business understands? So one of the key elements to this is ensuring that the catalogue you create actually demonstrates the value the business understands. It's there part of the service portfolio, making sure, again, we have the inputs from our pipeline, the new services that are coming up, whether they're ready for delivery or not, we can determine at what point we put those into our catalogue. It also contains the retired element, so as a service becomes less useful in your organisation and you're considering retiring that, we can look at moving that in time into the retired catalogue, but maintaining all the information. Very useful. You could use that information in the future to support other services. The content we'll talk about in a minute, but the key elements about the service should be in your documents. It should cover how you can order that service. What are the points of escalation? Where do I get that from? How do I get that service? It consists of two views, customer facing, so what does the business need? Making sure that the catalogue is in a format that the business can actually utilise, that makes sense to them. It's also a technical element as well. So our IT catalogue links directly in with this, so making sure that all our services we're supporting business are referenced in here, linking back to the components that make those services up. As said, the catalogue itself forms part of your portfolio, the pipeline being all new services potentially coming online, and then the retired service asset becomes less of a requirement. We can move that into the retiring and eventually retired, where it will disappear from the catalogue view itself. But what form do these catalogues take? Well, they can take many, many formats. Actually, we can have a spreadsheet, a very common approach, or a document such as a Word document, again, very popular. Nowadays, databases, web pages, very useful type products. Or indeed, you may have an integrated tool. It could be part of your management suite, or it could be a separate product that you've purchased and you've integrated into your tool set. I would like to ask another poll, if I may, regarding the different types of catalogue. And if you've got a catalogue, what format does your particular catalogue take? So again, I've placed a poll on the screen for you. You may not have a catalogue, but if you do, what format does that take? And they're coming in fast, and quite a mixture, and it's looking like the integrated tool set is doing very well there at 31%. A lot of documents out there, probably Word type documents, again very popular. There's a few spreadsheets out there and a few databases, but the integrated tool set and the documents are looking the favourites today, which again from my experience is very common. A Word document is quite a normal way of actually providing this information still. I'll just close that poll. I think everybody has voted on that. Thank you very much. Yep, so again, as I said, the integrated tool is becoming very popular, with just standard documents being a sort of an alternative approach to that. So what goes into this catalogue, this document that you've got in your organisation? Well, it's so wide and varied. Over my years of experience of implementing catalogue management, I've seen virtually every combination of content possible. So I've sort of put together the key things you would expect to have in your catalogue. So first of all, the service description. It says there in business language. So if it's in a clear language that the business understands, it's more likely to be used by them. Bear in mind who the target audience is for this particular catalogue. You may produce different views for different people, which is a lot easier to do in a tool. Obviously, if it's a document, you might end up with different documents for different types of user base. Now, make sure the language is clear, makes the service understandable in a language they'll understand, the benefits to them within their organisation. So let's look at some of those targets you might put in. Now, if you've got service level management with service level agreements in place, you will have some targets in them. So using the information within your SLAs, present that in your catalogue. Things like availability of service, capacity, elements like that, security, level of security is relevant to this particular service. Support, the support hours. When are you actually providing this service? How do your users, how does the business contact IT to gain either access to that service or to actually identify or report a fault? Who the owner is. All services should have owners, so let's identify the owner, a business owner, an IT owner. Again, good idea to have these available so any issues with these services can be quickly identified. So it's an escalation point. If you haven't got this service, how would you go about ordering it? You may have a request fulfillment process. If that's the case, link the catalogue to that. Using your integrated management tool, if you have one, then this is often a process that's built into this, allowing you to produce some sort of web front end, allowing users to not only order that service, but even report faults or something along those lines as well with that. If appropriate, the cost of that service. Now, not all IT costs are visible, and it may be difficult to actually identify the cost, but if it's appropriate, place the cost of that service in there. The usage terms, again, a very good idea to place something in there that identifies terms and conditions for this particular service. It could be the amount of users that it's capable of supporting. It could cover things like change freezes or maintenance windows. It could cover elements of ordering and how and the time frame in which to order and who may be able to order that, who has to give you authority to order that service. And update information. Information relating to the service in question, any changes that are coming up, again, such as changes or change windows that are coming up or change freeze elements if you're hitting that particular time of year or month. And any new services coming on, why not place those in the catalogue now, again making them visible, order now, coming soon, anything like that, so people can see that this new service will be available to you in a future time. So some of the catalogue contents. Again, I'd like to ask you a very short poll, if I could, relating to what your catalogue contains. Now, I'm going to place that there for you now. Does your catalogue have only business processes showing? Is it only technical? Is it a combination of both? Or have you got that access to that information at the moment? So at the moment, it's looking like it is a combination. If you've got that catalogue itself, some are technical, which is good. So it's looking like majority are actually a combination, which is excellent. That's exactly what we're looking for, a good mixture of the business services and supporting technical services that go with those. I'll just give you a few more seconds to vote on that. Most of you have done so now. probably it. So again, thank you very much. I'll just close that and return the window to you. Excellent, thank you. Some of the relationships there. So how can you use this catalogue in your organisation? Again, just a few suggestions. It can be wide and varied, but let's look at service level management. Well, if you haven't got service level management, an excellent starting point. Put together a list of all your services, then start to look at the levels of service that you are currently offering the business. Sit down and discuss these with the business and formalize that. Actually get an agreement of that level of service that you're going to provide them or they require from you. We've got the service desk. Well, the service desk are providing services to you at certain hours, so why not document within that the hours of that service, how the user can contact the service desk. Any escalation paths can go in there. The service desk should have access to this information. They're using the same information as the user's using, so we can have a common language, we can have a common piece of information that we can share, so no disagreements about the level of service being provided. Incident management, well, one of the key things we should be able to get out of this catalogue is the priorities. What priorities can you log on this particular service? Let's clearly document the different priorities available to us. Let's clearly document the criteria in which we can log different types of incidents. Again, stops that argument. We know exactly what level of service we should be providing. The user knows exactly what level of service to expect. Request fulfillment, as I said previously, integrated into your catalogue. So using the request fulfillment process to actually deliver those services. So the catalogue will give that either that option or the process in which a user can actually obtain access to that particular service, the route they need to take, the authorization they require to obtain that. The service portfolio itself, well, we know it consists of pipeline and retired services. So having this link right through is going to give us that ability to work with the business, understand their future requirements, put together a service design package which can go into our pipeline. When that service becomes available or part of that process of bringing that through the transitional processes to a live service, it will then appear in your catalogue. And then when that service is no longer required, we can look at retirement. Having that end-to-end process is going to give us a seamless approach to delivering that service. Service access and configuration management, well, they're all about relationships between components. So the service asset and configuration management process can provide you with all the technical resources. So the components of the infrastructure. Use those to identify all the components and the relationships that make up that service. This forms part of the technical catalogue that you've got. So some of the relationships there. Creation of the catalogue itself there. How do you go about a creation? Now, it's not an easy task. We can't just pull out a load of documents and find everything we need in there. We need to go and identify those services. So it's a detective job. It's not quick and not easy. I would certainly work with the business. I would sit down and talk to customers. Actually identify what they believe the services that we're providing at the moment. Let's get some documents relating to those services. Let's find some information out about those services we're currently providing them. Let's have a look in our configuration management system. Now that's going to consist of lots of information relating to changes, to releases, to problems, to incidents. So using all that information, we can glean what sort of services, again, we're providing the customer, what sort of level of service we're providing the customer. And again, start to build up a picture of exactly what's out there. One of the key things I would do is speak to the service desk. Now the service desk are taking calls, they're taking incidents, they're taking requests. They're the the focal point for all our sort of IT requirements from the business. So speaking with them, reviewing incidents and problems again to see what type of services we're actually identifying there. If you've got any way of categorizing your services, and you might have a category within your Service Desk tool, use that again to help you identify whether or not there's a service related to that. Build it up. It takes time. It's a slow process, but slowly we'll get a better picture of exactly what we're providing the business. Creating the catalogue itself, well, my recommendation is always keep it simple. So start simple. Start with a document. Start with a spreadsheet. Don't just go straight in and buy a tool. The tool is there to support the process. So identify the services, work with the people, put together your process to ensure that we can keep this information up to date. Every time there's a change, that we link that back to our catalogue, so we can keep that information updated. Once we've established our catalogue, then we can consider putting together or picking up a tool to do the job, using some sort of automated tool. Not going to discuss the different types of tools today. It's wide and varied, so many different requirements, but it's something you may wish to discuss in the future. How do we measure how effective our catalogue is? One of the key sort of reasons we're doing this is to ensure we're providing business benefits. So we need to be able to measure how accurate our catalogue is. So, some measures you would like to or may consider doing. How many services have you got in your catalogue? How many of those are actually in transition? How many are actually being delivered? How many of those do we know about? How many of those have we actually got in our catalogue at the moment? What variances are there? So this is something you're going to monitor over time. Now, you're not going to have every service listed from day one. This is going to be a task that's going to probably take about 6 months to piece together. So monitor this. You know, how many services we're getting, how much variation between the actual service that we're delivering and the services we've described in the catalogue. As time goes on, those variances should drop, and the number of services recorded, we should see an increase, and a percentage increase on our overall services. How aware are IT of the services they are providing and the technology they're actually providing? So what sort of level of technical information have we got available in our catalogue? Again, checking to see, have we got a breakdown of all the core components that make that service? Do we know about the hardware? Do we know about the operating system? Do we know about the application? Do we know about the reference interfaces between them, using our CMDB with its relationships in to identify that? How accurate, how much information do we have? How many calls being logged on your service desk don't have information relating to the service? This is something we're looking to increase as time goes on. So when a user phones up our desk, it reports an issue or an incident, and we key in the user's information, can it tell us what service or services they have access to? We identify the service in question when we log the incident. How much information do we know about it? Do we know what the SLA is for that service? Do we know what sort of availability we should be providing? Do we know what the response time is, the fix time? Do we know about the priorities of that particular service? All this information is vitally important. Can we measure how accurate, how well we're doing that? The business, how aware are they of the catalogue? Now, we need to make sure that this is widely publicised throughout our organisation to ensure maximum benefit. So, if it is an online catalogue, relatively easy to measure. If you've got that ability of measuring hits on a web page, use that. A lot of tools have this functionality built in. So how often are your users actually visiting your catalogue? What are they doing with the catalogue? How else? What else would they like out of it? So can they actually request other elements being put into that catalogue? So how aware are they of that catalogue, and can we measure how well they're using that catalogue? Some of the challenges we may face as we go through the creation of this catalogue. Well, the catalogue in the past has always been a very IT-focused tool. So we need to start involving the business more, understand the business requirements, link the business services to our catalogue. So sit down, have meetings with them, have discussions with them, find out exactly how they would like to use that. As we said at the beginning, defining what the service is. Until we've actually defined sort of what a service is, it can be quite difficult to actually document what those services are. So let's first of all define what that service actually is. Don't just rush straight out and buy a tool. Make sure we know exactly what we want from our tool beforehand. At the end of the day, putting a tool in is going to be just the same as adding a new service. So let's follow the standard disciplines we should follow when it comes to adding a service. Let's create a service design package. Let's understand exactly what we want from our tool, what information we want to record, who's our target audience, what's it got to integrate with, what's the expansion requirements for the future. Let's actually put together a detailed document of exactly what this product should do for us. Then we can go out and select an appropriate tool to meet our requirements. Make sure the processes are in place before you buy the tool. Make sure everybody understands what we're trying to do with this catalogue. So present it to the business, sell it to the business, making sure the business are supporting us in the delivery of this. Again, can be difficult to do to get the buy-in, but good communication, working closely with the business, very, very beneficial. Just ensuring that the business are getting out of this catalogue what they need. They will use it far more that way. So how are we going to make it work? Well, as I said, define that service first. That's an excellent starting point. Now we know exactly what the business wants, what we both understand to be a service. We can then start documenting what our services are. Put together a list. To start simple with a spreadsheet. What are those services? What do we know about those services now? So let's identify the owner. Let's identify the components that make that service up. Let's identify the technical catalogue. Use that to join, to integrate together. Identify service level agreements that we have for this service. We can then put in the targets. We can put in all that information that your users need on a day-to-day basis to be able to make decisions as to, do I need that service? Do I want that? Identify the customers that will actually use these different services. Present the customers with services that are beneficial to them. Don't show them services that either can't be used by them or of no benefit to them. So find a way of actually limiting or filtering that catalogue to the appropriate use. Reporting on these services, very important. So using this catalogue as the basis for your reporting will certainly start to show and demonstrate the effectiveness of that catalogue. Again, if we use it this way, we can identify one that the services isn't referenced in that catalogue. And we have customers asking for information and we haven't got that in our catalogue, then make sure we add that as a service into the catalogue and then report on that service. Availability, issues with that service, sell the benefit back for that service. Involving the right people, vitally important. So right at the start, identify the stakeholders who should be involved. Work closely with the business. Work with department heads, understanding exactly what services they perceive to use. Work with IT, understanding of what supporting services they provide. clear that what everybody needs out of this. Identify the key people, make sure we sell it back to them. It's exactly what this catalogue will contain and the benefits of that catalogue. So, I'd like to summarize then as to what we've discussed. First of all, the service itself. It's very important that we actually define what a service is. This is our starting point for both IT and the business to understand to ensure we can start creating an effective catalogue. The role of the catalogue itself, well, many uses of that catalogue. It's not just a product to present to the business. It's a tool that we can use in IT as well to support our services. We link together the technical and the business aspects of the services we provide. How to use that catalogue? We can use that for service level management. We can use it for incidents and the service desk. And we can use it for our portfolio to ensure we've got a joined up delivery of a service. We can use it throughout the business as well. Everybody can use that service or that catalogue as a communication tool. Creating, it's a slow process. It's a case of being sort of diligent, working your way through, looking at all the services you believe IT are providing, working with the business, understanding on what they believe are services you're providing, and slowly documenting all those, linking them all together to finally create a spreadsheet to start with, and then as time goes on, maybe maturing that into a tool. Some of the challenges that we face, as I've said previously, it's often seen as a technical tool. We create technical catalogues. We may present these to the business. The business don't necessarily understand what this catalogue is for. So can we actually get the best out of the catalogue? And making it work, again, can be tricky, but it's a case of being able to measure that properly. Make sure that people are actually using that catalogue. Identify who's using it, what they're using it. If we find it's not being used effectively, increase the communication. Put together webinars like this perhaps. Put together some drop-in sessions. Have a session in the canteen at lunchtime to show the web service or the services you're offering and how people can access them. Make them aware of the services you're delivering and the catalogue and its availability. I would like to invite any questions if there is any. I haven't seen any coming in yet, but if you do have any questions, please use this opportunity to raise them. You can discuss any future requirements. There's an email address there in front of you, tutor@fgilimited.co.uk. That will come to myself or a colleague, so please send an email. There's also our website as well, if you wish to look at our website and see what other services we can provide you. So is there any questions that anybody would like to pose? Right, there's a question coming in here. Will the slides be available after the webinar? Yes, they will. We'll be providing the slides for you. There will be a white paper following shortly as well to support it. Is there any other questions? No. No, that looks like all the questions. I would like to thank you for attending this webinar this morning, and if there's no further questions, we'll end the session now. Thank you very much.